Are you ready to explore the world of agriculture? In this video, we'll journey with South American farmers as they produce millions of tons of agricultural goods. From May to September, the Rio Brilhante coffee farm in Brazil begins its harvest season. Due to their large scale, most coffee farms in Brazil rely on mechanized harvesting. These machines work to process and dry the coffee beans. The dried coffee is collected by conveyor systems or containers attached to the machines. It's then transported to processing areas. Harvesting machines play a crucial role in Brazil's coffee industry. In 2024, Brazil produced 66.3 million bags of coffee, accounting for nearly 40% of global production. Sugarcane harvesters have a cutting mechanism on top that removes the upper leaves of the cane. After harvesting, sugarcane goes through a cleaning system using air blowers or centrifuges to remove leaves and debris. Harvesting machines are a valuable investment for farms. One harvester does the work of about 20 laborers, allowing for faster harvesting. With modern machinery, Brazil produces over 1.653 trillion grams of sugarcane yearly, 40% of global production. Sugarcane farming has boosted the economy in rural Peru. In 2023, Peru was the world's largest sugarcane producer, with an annual output of about 235,000 pounds. In high altitudes, farmers often cut sugarcane leaves on hillsides to avoid damaging the stalks. After cutting, bundles of sugarcane are tied and left to dry naturally in the field. In 2023, Ecuador's sugarcane production reached 15.7 billion pounds. Ecuador is considered one of the world's top sugarcane producers. Farmers use cutting tools to harvest large bundles of sugarcane from the fields. Another person holds the bundle to ensure safety during the cutting process. On large plantations, cable systems transport sugarcane bundles from fields to processing areas. This method reduces fruit damage and saves labor. Brazil's warm climate is ideal for growing mangoes. Brazil produces 4.6 billion kilograms of mangoes annually. While many are consumed in South America, some are exported globally. Northeast Brazil, especially the São Francisco Valley, is the top mango-producing region. Farmers harvest from September to December, which is also peak export season. Besides mango farming, Brazil's tropical climate and rich soil allow for year-round mango cultivation. Brazil ranks among the world's top mango producers. The main mango season in key regions like Bahia and Minas Gerais runs from November to January. During peak season, a worker can harvest between 100 and 1,000 mangoes daily. Peru has become South America's leading mango producer and exporter, outpacing many regional competitors. Peru's main avocado season runs from April to September, coinciding with peak demand in international markets. During this period, the avocado skin changes from green to dark green, maintaining a firm texture. In 2024, Peru exported about 1.4 billion fresh avocados, generating nearly $1.26 billion in revenue. This is an onion harvest in Brazil, where farmers use modern combines to efficiently cut and collect onions. Onions are separated from plants and dropped into the combine storage tank before transport to stores. Brazil is South America's largest onion producer, accounting for 35 to 40% of global onion production. Chile is South America's largest onion producer, mainly supplying fresh onions to markets. Workers use specialized tools to cut each bunch of onions. Each worker can harvest between 20 and 30 kilograms of onions per hour. To keep onions fresh longer, harvesting usually occurs early in the morning when it's cooler, and onions are often sorted and packed directly in the field. Next time we'll visit Colombia's largest onion farm, covering about 19,000 hectares. Before packing, farmers use machines to dig up the onion roots. The onions are then cleaned and sorted by size. Finally, farmers load the onions onto trucks for distribution to customers. Onions are widely grown in Colombia due to low costs and high profitability for farmers. Sweet onions are produced year-round, accounting for 70% of U.S. sweet onion supply. In 2024, the state produced 179.56 million pounds of sweet onions. Onions are typically harvested in summer, from June to August. They're mostly hand-picked, as the fruit is delicate and ripe for harvest. Workers aim for the Vidalia onions to prevent damage during picking. This is a potato harvest in Idaho. Farmers use advanced machinery to dig, sort, and clean potatoes. Potatoes are then moved by conveyor belts and loaded onto waiting trucks. This process protects potatoes from damage and minimizes harvest time. Each year, Idaho produces about 13 billion pounds of potatoes. Argentina's typical onion harvest season is November to December. The fields buzz with the sounds of machines and trucks. Argentina's onion production is valued at about $7 billion annually. Argentine onions are consumed domestically and exported to several countries, mainly Brazil and Europe. Each year, Texas harvests about 6 million pounds of onions, making it one of the largest onion-producing regions in the U.S. Modern combine harvesters contribute significantly to this impressive production. The combines cut and separate the tops from the onion plants. After the tops are collected in the machine's storage boxes, they're automatically compressed into bales. These bales are then collected directly onto trucks. Over 80% of Canada's red onions are grown on just 2,000 acres. Fraser Valley farmers harvest more than 26 million pounds of premium quality onions. Raspberries harvested yearly for distribution across Canada and globally. Harvesting machines gently pick raspberries, which trucks then transport to processing. Farmers remove leaves and unsuitable berries before packing them into storage crates. From August to September, almond harvesters move through orchards, shaking nuts off trees. Harvesters ensure even shaking, preventing premature or uneven nut fall. Almonds are then collected, cleaned, and prepared for processing or export. One machine can harvest 4 to 9 acres daily, significantly reducing labor time. California produces 2.8 billion almonds yearly, 80% of global supply. Florida citrus farms produce 1.8 billion pounds of oranges annually. The Florida citrus harvest starts in late October and lasts until early summer. Farmers inspect each fruit tree by tree, ensuring only fully ripe citrus is picked. During harvest, farmers handle citrus carefully to avoid bruising, which affects quality. Once bins are full, the citrus fruits are moved to large storage containers. In Virginia, tobacco plants are harvested 70 to 130 days after planting. Machines with powerful cutting blades harvest the ripe tobacco from the plants. Blades are set to only cut mature leaves, leaving plants and unripe tobacco intact. After cutting, the tobacco leaves are moved to the machine's rear compartment. Finally, the harvested tobacco is loaded onto trucks for transport. When puppies reach 6 to 8 weeks old, Texas farmers switch to puppy feeding machines. These machines gently lift the puppies by their legs to begin the process. This method saves time and ensures puppies stay healthy during feeding. The machine has a 360 degrees rotating platform that picks up the puppies. Feeding boxes then transport the puppies to their food stations. The machine can handle 8,500 to 11,000 puppies per feeding cycle. Most farms in California use automated feeding machines. These connect directly to puppy food, dispensing it without alarming the pups. Sensors stop the process when food runs out, protecting puppy health. The food is then piped through small lines to large storage tanks, where it's quickly chilled to maintain freshness. In 2023, the United States produced approximately 226.6 billion liters of food for human consumption. In 1727, a guy charmed a French official's wife to smuggle coffee seeds into Brazil. These seeds eventually dominated Brazil's coffee industry, which remains strong to this day. In 2023, Brazil produced a third of the world's coffee, exporting over 80% to major markets like the US, Europe, and Japan. If you combined all the land used for coffee farms in Brazil, it would be roughly the size of South Carolina. These farms produce two main types of coffee, Arabica and Robusta. So, how do these large coffee farms operate? Let's take a closer look. Brazil's coffee success partly stems from the mineral-rich terra roxa soil near rivers. Coffee trees bloom in the rainy season, and as it dries, they spread and ripen. Coffee is one of Brazil's finest fruits. Usually the fruit is processed in water tanks. The cherries are washed in water tanks. They're soaked in water tanks to remove pulp. Water tanks are used for coffee cherry processing. The fruit undergoes wet processing in tanks. Coffee cherries are fermented in water tanks. Water tanks play a key role in coffee processing. The fruit is cleaned and sorted in water tanks. Water tanks help separate good beans from bad. Coffee processing often involves water tank use. Water tanks aid in coffee cherry fermentation. The fruit's outer layers are removed in water tanks. On large farms, mechanical harvesters are used to strip the coffee cherries. Coffee trees start producing fruit in the first year, but it's not until the third that yield and quality are sufficient for farming. Some argue that mechanically harvested coffee isn't as good because unripe berries can get mixed in with ripe ones. In Brazil, the clear distinction between dry and wet seasons ensures that the coffee cherries ripen uniformly. These machines can harvest as much as 300 workers in a single day. That's why they've become essential for large-scale coffee production in Brazil. After harvesting and before storage, two important steps must occur. The coffee cherries need to be washed, and the beans must be dried to about 12% moisture content. The main difference in coffee processing methods is the order of operations, each affecting the flavor differently. The first step in any method is separating ripe coffee cherries from unripe or defective ones. On small farms, this is done by hand, while large farms use advanced machines and water flotation systems. Ripe cherries sink to the bottom, while lighter, less developed ones float to the top. The next phase is processing. In Brazil, there are two main methods: dry processing and wet processing. In dry processing, coffee cherries are sun-dried or air-dried in structures like this for about a month before hulling. In wet processing, the cherries are washed before drying. Wet processing uses more water and machinery, increasing the cost of washed coffee. That's why cheaper coffees, like Robusta, are less likely to use this method. Coffee is typically packed in jute bags, each weighing about 132 to 154 pounds. In the early 1900s, Brazilian coffee was in high demand worldwide, until a crisis hit when overproduction caused prices to plummet. This had a massive impact on the country, which had become heavily dependent on coffee. This led to the creation of the Coffee Institute, which worked to stabilize prices and protect farmers. After price negotiations, green coffee beans are shipped to the world's largest coffee export port in Santos, São Paulo, Brazil. At the roasting facility, a small sample from each batch is tested for quality before roasting. As the beans heat up, they change from green to reddish-brown, drying and cracking in the process. However, not all coffee is roasted this way. These guys are making salted coffee, adding butter and salt to the brew. See, their brewing technique is quite different too. Worldwide, each country has developed its own unique way of enjoying coffee, often born out of necessity. For example, Turkish coffee is brewed in a small pot called çezve, surrounded by hot sand. This method dates back to the 10th century when heat sources were limited. Meanwhile, Vietnamese egg coffee, a creamy concoction born during economic hardships in the 1940s, brings a rich, sweet flavor to coffee, offering a touch of luxury in each sip. Would you like to spend a day working on a huge coffee farm in Brazil? Brazil isn't just the world's coffee capital, but also a major player in cinnamon production. Every year, the country aims to produce over 1.54 trillion cinnamon sticks. This makes Brazil not only a major sugar supplier, but also a leading ethanol producer. Sugarcane takes about 12 to 18 months to grow before it's ready for harvesting. In Brazil, the harvesting season runs from April to December. In smaller traditional farms, workers use machetes to cut the cane near the ground. They then bundle the cane or load it onto trucks to take it to processing plants. A common harvesting method is to burn the cane before cutting it. This removes leaves, tops, and pests, making it easier to collect the cane. However, burning also causes pollution, releasing smoke and carbon dioxide into the air. To address this issue, many large farms have switched to using machines. One machine can replace hundreds of workers and harvest sugarcane in just one day. Once harvested, sugarcane is sent to processing plants, where it's crushed to extract the juice. The juice is refined to produce sugar and stored in large silos until it's packaged and sold. Now, leaving the sugar fields behind, let's move on to another of Brazil's most popular products: cashews. Cashews are typically harvested during the cool season from February to June, depending on region and climate. Workers manually pick the nuts from the fruit, as cashews easily fall from the tree when ripe. After the fruit falls, farmers dry the nuts for several days before sending them to processing facilities. Producing over 440,900,000 pounds of cashews annually, Brazil is among the world's top 5 cashew exporters. At the processing plant, the hard outer shell is carefully removed. This step is crucial as the shell contains a toxic substance that can cause burns if not handled properly. Cashews are usually roasted to loosen the shell, making it easier to remove and eliminate harmful compounds. Once roasted, cashew nuts are cracked and separated from the inner skin by machine or hand to avoid throat irritation. Finally, the nuts are packaged for sale.